Ladies and ladies and gentlemen, a young man, I believe his name was Kenneth, sent me Federal Reserve Operating Circular number 10. And when he did, he just asked me to take a look. And I did. And what did I find? I found some very interesting information. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, what I found was the application packet for U.S. borrowers. Well, what does that have to do with anything? Let's take a trip. Do you guys mind taking a trip? I don't like trips. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want you all to pay attention. This is Federal Reserve Act. You're going to find it at 12 USC 414. Okay? It says the Board of Governors. You know who them fools is? They are the Federal Reserve System. And they have rights. They shall have the right. Shall is a mandatory word. Acting through the Federal Reserve agent. These are the membered banks, the state banks, the local banks, the national banks, the banking associations. Them that's who they is. All right, now hold on now. To grant in whole, man, I had a couple of them in my donuts, and they wouldn't give me my money back. Gave me them donuts with them holes in it, and I told them that's a product defect. You got to take this back, or in part. Man, I went to AutoZone and they gave me several of these. Or to reject entirely the application. Man, there's an application. Man, where's the application at? Appendix number 3, application packet for U.S. borrowers. Hold on now. We got the application of any Federal Reserve Bank. Wait a minute, of any Federal Reserve Bank? Oh, only the Federal Reserve banks can put applications in. Only nobody else. Hold on. Let me check something. I think I found something. Oh, the U.S. borrower desiring the capacity to request to borrow funds from the local Federal Reserve Bank. Oh, so it's not just Federal Reserve banks. It's even U.S. borrowers who can request the capacity to borrow from the Federal Reserve. So not just Federal Reserve banks can borrow from the Federal Reserve. Oh, so glad we got that presumption kicked out of here. Get out of here! You're not welcomed anymore. Hit the road, Jack. I'm sorry. It says the application for any Federal Reserve Bank for Federal Reserve notes. And that's what the borrower is asking for, to borrow funds from the local Federal Reserve agent. That's the banks we just talked about. Okay, let's go back. It's a puzzle. Y'all gotta put the puzzle together. But to the extent that such an application may be granted, the Board of Governors for the Federal Reserve System shall, mandatory, that's a shall word, shall, okay, through its local Federal Reserve agent, they're just a servant, they're just an intermediary. That's why it's through them, not by them. They're not the lender. The Federal Reserve is. Shh, don't tell nobody. It's a secret. They be going into court saying we are the lender. They owe us money, Your Honor. And they don't. They don't know that you guys know this. Hold on. Says they shall, through that bank, supply Federal Reserve notes to the bank so applying. We can skip the rest because they're not arguing the rest. They're saying they loaned you money. Now, wait, hold on. You pay attention, applied for the money. That's what the I want some money was all about. So you applied for the money. Okay, we got that. Everybody on the same page? You applied for the money. Ooh, so glad we got that cleared up because sometimes there's confusion. So what does this all mean? Oh, this is simple. Ladies and gentlemen, let's show you something. We can go to section 12.3. Y'all know me. Okay? Because I'm down, you know, Tretch, naughty by nature. 12.3. The borrower appoints the bank. What do you appoint the bank for? What y'all doing appointing the bank? Y'all didn't know? With the power of substitution? Who they gonna substitute? They gonna substitute them for them? Ooh, they can substitute. As it's true and lawful attorney in fact. Wait a minute. You done gave them power? hold on. The power of attorney. You gave them power. Hold on now. With full, irrevocable. I say irrevocable. Well, I say irrevocable. Tomato, 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 tomato. Shout it out. With full, irrevocable power and authority. Man, you authorize them to do what? In the place instead of the bar. You authorize them to role play. They get to stand as if they were you. Yay, they just be walking up there, boasting out their little chest, talking about, yeah, I got power. I got the power. Hold on. To endorse. Ooh, they get to put an endorsement on your note. To assign, they get to assign it to other banks. To transfer, they get to transfer to other banks and facilities and servicers and creditors and collectors and who to deliver the collateral. Wait, in order for them to be able to deliver it, they must have custody of it to any party. So they took custody of something. Oh, the collateral. And to take any action deemed necessary or advisable by the bank, either to protect the bank's interests or to exercise its rights under the lending agreement. Hold on now. Pay attention. The lending agreement wasn't your note. The lending agreement wasn't the so called trust. The lending agreement was that application you filled out at the bank. That's not the same application as this application. Okay, you signed an agreement. I'm gonna pay these back. But hold on now, need you to stay with me. This is the agreement to hold your collateral in custody, otherwise known as the borrower in custody agreement. Just this section right here is what creates the borrower in custody agreement. Everything else is an adhesion to the borrower in custody agreement. Do you understand? So the banks are claiming that you owe them money. So go in and shout, oh no, Your Honor, this was a simple contract. Yeah, right here. It shows that they have a contract with me. We have a borrower in custody agreement. That's all you got to do is show 12.3. Then you say, oh, no, 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 shut up. I ain't finished talking yet. You made a presumption that this is a simple contract. I'm just going to show you how simple it is. Yeah, see, this involved the Federal Reserve Bank, and I was applying through them. Yeah, uh-huh. I was applying through Federal Reserve Operating Circular number 3. And while I was applying through Federal Reserve Operating Circular number 3, the Federal Reserve approved my application. What do you mean? What proof do I have? Oh, that's a simple part. See that mother over there? He's saying I owe them money. He said I refuse to pay. That's the proof I have that my application was approved because I received the desired capacity to borrow from the Federal Reserve. Now hold on now. Shut up, Your Honor. I ain't finished. 12 USC 414 said the Federal Reserve Bank gave them money. That's right, on my behalf. Sure did. Where's my money, mother? No, see, Your Honor, see, I got proof that I've been paid. Now, hold on now, Your Honor. We got one more thing to prove to you because you don't understand what's going on here, and I know you don't because you're too stupid. Yeah, all judges are stupid. Yeah, you're one of them. You a judge, ain't you? Okay, so you're stupid. So shut up, Your Honor. When I went through that process, I was using the Federal Reserve Act. That's how simple the contract is. And when I deposited that note that they received, Your Honor, that note that they received, I'm sorry, you must have misunderstood. It was received at par. That's right, because it was a deposit with the Federal Reserve. This became an obligation of the Federal Reserve Bank, not an obligation of mine. My obligation ended. That's how simple this contract was. Yeah, it's a simple contract. That's how simple it was. We were using the Federal Reserve Act. I gave him the note. Simple contract. It was received at par. Oh, no, that's federal law, Your Honor. Yeah, federal. Yeah, I don't like saying federal law because that reminds me of the Confederate, and we got rid of that. But we're gonna say federal law because that's what you guys like to say. This stuff is federal law, so it's federal law, even though it's an act of Congress. It's federal law, and this was the intent of Congress. I don't need to argue nothing else with you, Your Honor. Y'all sit up there and y'all go in the back and then y'all talk about it because this is irrefutable rebuttal to your presumption. Yes, you're right. It's a simple contract, but not the simple contract that you're saying, where it evidences an obligation to pay. I took care of my obligation when I deposited my note with the local Federal Reserve agent. Now, if you didn't understand that, Your Honor, let's dally on down here to Section 403, where it tells me, no, I'm gonna show you where. Okay, fine, you don't want to see the act itself. Well, we're gonna go, hold on now, one, gotta go one more back. Okay, this is Section 412. Y'all heard of Section 412? Now, any Federal Reserve Bank, I got the capacity, I applied for the capacity, they gave it to me, may make an application. That's appendix number 3. That's the application to any local bank. That's them over there, Your Honor. Okay, and I asked for Federal Reserve notes for such an amount of Federal Reserve notes as hereinbefore provided, Section 411. But we ain't talking about that right now because it says only Federal Reserve Bank can borrow from the Federal Reserve. But I applied for the application. I applied, Your Honor, for the application for the capacity of Federal Reserve Bank. Now, pay attention. Such an application shall be accompanied with a tender. I gave them a payment. That's right, Your Honor. And it says of collateral equal to the sum amount. So it had face value, Your Honor. Yeah, equal. They said the collateral security is the note that I gave them. And it tells you right here that it's received at par. Would you like to see it, Your Honor? It says in no event shall the collateral security, the tender, the note, be less than the amount the Federal Reserve notes applied for. It can be more, but it can't be less. I gave them payment. Oh, I'm sorry. What you say? You got to take it under advisement. Oh no, you don't get to take this under advisement. I just showed you the law. What you gonna be advising? Either you're gonna follow the law or you're not. Let's just get this on the record. Go ahead and deny me so I can show how stupid you are. You're sitting up there looking for a presumptive response. I don't want a presumptive response. You have to follow the law as written. You've been saying it's a simple contract. Well, I just showed you it is a simple contract. I deposited the note. They accepted the note, and there is proof. Them coming in here saying that I'm supposed to be paying something because they didn't read the law and they're not following the law. Law says it's received at par. There's no other, you don't have any other law that they can go by. They just admitted that they were following the Federal Reserve Act. They're a member bank of the Federal Reserve. I was following the Federal Reserve Act. Federal Reserve Act says it's received at par. Federal Reserve Act says, hey, the Federal Reserve, no, hold on, y'all. You're going to sit up here and you want to test me. It says that the Federal Reserve are to make regulations, restrictions, and limitations for the advancement to any individual. Well, if you look at Federal Reserve Operating Circular, it talks about me applying to borrow funds. And then when you look at the section, give me a second, Your Honor, I got to get to the next page. This is the page right here. Most people won't be able to see it because the lines are missing, but the lines are there. Okay. It says that I am looking to borrow money from the Federal Reserve banks on behalf of the borrower. That's what they come in because I gave them permission. That's the borrower in custody agreement. That's the part of the borrower in custody agreement, Your Honor. So they don't have no say so. They lying. They came in here lying. I want sanctions. I want them held responsible for ruining my credit. Talking about I owe them some money. And then they trading that security on the market. Do you know what type of securities fraud that is? Claiming that there is a mortgage on that property when there ain't no mortgage on no property that been received at par? Whew, I gotta go now, Your Honor, because I was tired. I done sat up here and put this together for you, and I was hoping that you done heard this before, but if you ain't heard it before, you're gonna have a lot of people coming to you saying, hey, unpresumpt this, you stupid presumptive idiot. All right, gotta go, Your Honor. No, I wasn't calling you an idiot. That's what they calling you. Everybody gonna be calling you an idiot because you're gonna be sitting up here trying to presumpte your way out of something, and you ain't got no presumption to be doing no presumption to be getting out of something. Now shut up.